So today we'll be discussing diversity and inclusion. We'll be looking at the Law Society's diversity report and some of the key findings from that. We'll also have a look at the overview of some of the regulatory and statutory obligations imposed upon firms and individuals. But we'll also be looking wider than that, actually, as to the bigger issue of diversity inclusion, not necessarily from a regulatory perspective in terms of the Equality Act. We're going to be looking at the business case for diversity and inclusion, and also action that you can take at a personal and also a firm level to improve the issues of equality and diversity in the profession. So we spoke earlier about the difference between being racist or being anti-racist, and this is something in the sessions I mentioned before. This was some feedback from one of the members who this was almost a light bulb moment. So this individual had never considered themselves to be racist. However, they hadn't considered, but am I anti-racist? John Amici is a renowned psychologist. He's also previously an NBA basketball player who he speaks very eloquently about these issues and emphatically about these issues. Now, what he says and he lectures on is there's a big difference between not racist and being anti-racist. He says he knows it doesn't seem like it, but both of these things are not equally good. And the third book, which I would highly recommend, is The Authority Gap by Mary Ann Sieghart. Now this, again, is a fairly new book, in the last 12 months was published, and it really does dispel some of those myths in terms of why there is a gender pay gap, but also more seriously a authority gap, and which is perhaps less understood. And this is something that I, as a female working my way through the profession in my early 20s, I was very much of the view there is no gap, there isn't an authority gap, and actually it's more about what I can do, what I can achieve. Perhaps naively, because now looking at the studies, there is such a huge gap, which personally I didn't perceive. My view was very much that work hard, be more confident, work harder, you can achieve just as much as your male counterparts. But actually, are the cards stacked in the favour of others?